Welcome to John Martin Talks, where we battle ignorance and apathy daily. The growing ignorance of just how special this experiment we call the United States of America is, and the apathy that we can't or won't do anything and everything to save her. Well, ladies and gentlemen, today the word of the day, let me get it pulled back up here. Here we go. The word of the day is delusional. And the definition I have chosen is a bit lengthy, but I think you'll see why in just a moment. A delusional, a persistent, false, psychotic belief regarding the self or persons or objects outside the self that is maintained despite indisputable evidence to the contrary. So in other words, you hold on to your beliefs no matter what. That it doesn't matter what the truth is, that if true, you know, you're still delusional too. Well, my first title here is coming to you from Breitbart News, one of these good alternative sources, just like JMT, by the way. But my sub-headline for this is Delusional Invention, or the Invention of Delusion. And it's coming to you, as I say, from Breitbart, and it deals with Jorge Ramos. Jorge Ramos, amnesty for illegals, migrants, nothing we can do to stop them. Univision anchor Jorge Ramos said on Tuesday evening that he believes the solution to the migrant crisis at the U.S. border, well, at least he's saying there's a crisis, that's a change, is to just legalize all illegal immigrants because nobody can really stop them from entering the United States. Now, is this a delusion or an illusion? Like I say, I'm just grateful that he actually uttered the words crisis. Because, I mean, how bad does it actually have to be for somebody like Jorge Ramos to say it's a crisis? I mean, it must be catastrophic for him to say that it's a crisis. But he goes on to say the U.S. economy has been absorbing them, talking about the migrants, and it seems that they have to realize that the only way to deal with this is in a legal way. So the only way to deal with illegal immigrants is legal way. Well, I hate to tell you, Jorge, but you sound like you should be supporting Donald Trump, because that's exactly what President Trump has been trying to do. Now, you could argue with how successful he's been at doing it, but President Trump, the most radical thing that President Trump has done about the U.S. border is he's actually attempted to enforce the law on the books. Imagine that. I mean, people want to think that somehow Donald Trump got elected to president. You talk about a delusion, that people think he got elected to president and all of a sudden he radically changed all the laws in America, that somehow he got his telephone and his pen. That was Obama that said that, right? That President Trump somehow through executive order just changed America. You know, he just rewrote, Constitution, and we don't have to worry about that. That's what the leftists do. The radical thing that President Trump has done is he's actually enforced the U.S. existing laws, especially when it comes to the border. And from that, he's been called everything but a child of God. So, Jorge, maybe you need to get on board the Trump train, baby. But Ramos told CNN's Anderson Cooper just to understand that legally they're going to keep coming and there's nothing we can do to stop them. That legally they're going to keep coming. But that's the problem. They hadn't been coming legally. They're coming illegally. I mean, these people, you talk about delusion, man, they are delusional. Ramos said Americans have to understand that 300,000 to 1 million illegal immigrants have entered the United States every year for decades, and if more of these immigrants want to come to the United States, it's very difficult to stop them at the border. So he says Americans have to understand. We do understand, Jorge. I hate to tell you this. We realize exactly what's happening. We, the America First people, us dregs and deplorables, Billy Bob Bass, my psychic sidekick, he's channeling his inner deplorable today. If you just tuned into our show, a couple of things. First, welcome to it. We have a growing audience. We really appreciate that. But Billy Bob is my psychic sidekick. He kind of keeps me on track. He's got a Twitter handle. It's at Billy Bob Bass 1, and mine is at John Martin Talks. But I hate to tell you, we realize exactly, Jorge, what's been happening at the border, and you're absolutely right. Millions of illegals have been coming here for decades. You're right, and we realize it. That's why, by the way, we elected Donald J. Trump. And that was our reaction to that. And also keep in mind that presidents have been realizing there's a crisis at the border for some time, because the left and the mainstream media would have you believe that Donald Trump, he got elected president, and all of a sudden we're talking about building a wall, building a wall. And the fact is that guess what the last 4 presidents have done? You ready for it? The last 4 presidents, which include a couple of Bushes with a Clinton in the middle and an Obama, all 4 of them built wall in some form or fashion. And this I know is a scary thought, but if Hillary Clinton were actually president of more than California, guess what she'd be doing right now? Building a wall, because that's what presidents have been doing in response to this manufactured crisis, which Jorge, rightly so, is a crisis. And I've been saying all along, we just posted it up there, build a wall, man. It is better for all. But Ramos went on to say Central American countries, what did Fox News call them? The three Mexican countries? Central American countries and Mexico are not the immigration police of Donald Trump. And he's right about that. They're not the police of anything, because they can't even police their own country. But all I would ask, and I know this is radical, Jorge, but get a grip, man. Grab a hold of something, you snowflakes. What about enforcing international law? Because they don't have to be the police of the United States. They don't have to be enforcing Donald Trump's law. If these countries are so civilized and so great, why don't they simply enforce international law? They're all members of the UN. They're all trying to get money from everybody they can, including us, which I'm hoping Trump will actually cut off. But international law specifically states that when a person, and I'm paraphrasing it, but basically what it says is that when a person leaves from one country to seek refugee status or asylum in another country, that they first have to seek it in the country they come to first. In other words, if the first country you come to is Mexico, then you're supposed to seek asylum in Mexico. That is by international law. But now they're bus rushing and bum rushing the border and bringing people up here in caravans in droves. And yes, I will say it, and get ready for it to be melted, snowflakes. But if I say it, you deserve to be melted. They are invaders. They're invaders. That's what I wanted to say. I got sidetracked a minute there. I had to take a little sip from, by the way, this cup says, I want you on my side of the wall. It was given to my loving wife in the loving words of Donald Trump, man. But what is the definition of invader? I would say one definition would be people who are violating your law, coming across the border, waving flags from another country and chanting about how great they are. And people saying, like we talked about a couple of days ago, where the one migrant literally said, I don't give a damn what Donald Trump said. Yeah, people who are crashing into our border, who are literally going to places like the Mexican version of Home Depot, I guess it's called Home Depot, and taking chainsaws and cutting down our fences. Yeah, I would say that's an invasion. If someone is cutting down the door to your house, couldn't that be called a home invasion? So anyway, follow international law. Where's the UN? If the UN, we give all this, we talk about cutting off money, perhaps we should cut off money to the UN. We give them billions of dollars. We're like the main one paying the bills. And everywhere else in the world, if someone is seeking refugee status from one country to another, the UN is there. Where are they in this crisis? Oh, it's just up to you, Uncle Sam. You take care of it all. But Jorge went on to say, and he insisted that no matter how much money is spent trying to solve the migrant crisis, governments simply don't have the power to stop that from becoming a reality. In other words, there's nothing we can do about it. They're going to come by the millions. We might as well just get used to it, bend over and take it. They're coming. Let me just tell you, if true, I'll use the Democrats' words, if true, we are screwed. I mean, if that's true, if what Jorge is saying is a fact, then we are screwed. There is no doubt about it. But the truth is, he's telling Anderson Cooper, he said, but the truth is that, Anderson, nobody can stop them. Nobody can really stop them. What? Not only are we not stopping them, but we got people like you and many others trying to help them. I mean, we have organizations right here in the United States that are literally going down to like the Guatemala and Honduras, all that borders down there, and loading people on buses and taking them the whole length of Mexico and to ports of entry right now. Perhaps, and I'm not wanting people to suffer, but perhaps if it was a bit more of an arduous journey, then, you know, maybe we'd have fewer of them. Keep in mind, and I've showed this map before, that when that caravan that got all the media attention right before the 2018 midterm elections came up, they could have, if they being all these people who are do-good, die-hard do-gooders for all these illegal immigrants, and yes, I said them illegal, maybe I'll get banned for saying it. If they wanted to take them the straightest, most humanitarian way into the United States, go look at these, go take a map of that area, they would have taken them right to Brownsville, Texas, because that is like 1,200 miles shorter than the route they took all the way around up to San Diego, to Tijuana, Mexico. So they put these people through, these people were mostly walking at the time. And the reason was because they wanted to score political points. They literally wanted to show these people suffering so that they would get humanitarian points, so to speak. But Ramos, the amnesty advocate who said that the United States has a responsibility to absorb the caravan migrants. So we have a responsibility to absorb them, I guess like a sponge. And I would say, why? On what basis? What basis do we have the responsibility to do that? First of all, they're not even supposed to be showing up to their door until the international law kicks in and Mexico and whatever other countries they come in do their part to follow the law. That's the first thing that should happen, as I said earlier. But on what basis? Are they talking about give us your you know, the Statue of Liberty, give us your tired, your huddled masses and all that? I mean, is that the basis of it? First of all, things change. They always change. But these people are saying they're seeking refugee status. They're really not. They're just seeking income. You know, they want money. I don't blame. And let me make this clear, because I've said it before, but I feel like I got to make a caveat to it. I have nothing against Hispanic people immigrating to this country. In fact, we have a huge American Hispanic population, and I know this is scary to a lot of the progressives, but a lot of Hispanics are waking up or have awoken to the fact that an open border policy is not in their best interest as loyal, patriotic Americans either. And that's why there's some speculation, and I saw this in Politico of all places, that as many as 50% of Hispanics are on the verge of supporting Donald Trump. If that happens, oh my God, they will. You think they're hysterical now? Wait till that actually happens. But think about it. It only makes sense because people who come to this country, they're illegally, who don't speak the language, the first place they're going to come is in areas where people are predominantly Hispanic and speak Spanish. And it's only natural to feel comfortable. So they're going to come there. They're going to overwhelm their schools, their healthcare facilities, the jobs that are available, all that. And American citizens who are Hispanic, or any Americans, Hispanics that are here legally, they are coming to realize they don't have to, you know, search it out. It's right on their doorstep. So this idea that we don't want people of Hispanic background somehow, because Jorge calls this racist, we'll talk about that in a minute, is ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. I've told you before, some of the hardest working, most conservative, family-oriented, Christian people, yes, because most of them are Catholic, are Hispanics. Well, they're great additions to this country. But we have to do it legally or we're going to be overwhelmed. And we're not, the thing is, we're not going, let's just assume for the sake of conversation that most of the people coming across our border really want to be a part of the American dream. If we don't do this in an orderly process, there will be no American dream for them to aspire to. So that's where I really have a problem with what Ramos is saying. Earlier this year, Ramos called, and the other thing, he said we can't stop them. We could stop them if we were absolutely united on this. But when you got these crazy, hardcore leftist, no-border Democrats that only care about, you know, maintaining or getting power, that they don't care about the American people, then we're not united. We used to believe in, diversity. We used to believe in e pluribus unum, out of the many one. Now they just want as many people to come across the border to disrupt the American way of life as possible. But earlier this year, Ramos called for the legalization of all the country's illegal immigrants while saying that the border wall is a symbol, check this out, is a symbol of hate and racism. So the border wall, that the 4 previous presidents put up, and as I say, if Hillary had actually won, thank God she didn't, that she would be building that. Is that racist? I don't know. Was it? I don't. Tear down this wall. That's what Pelosi needs to go to the Tijuana border in San Diego and says, tear down this immoral wall. I'm waiting for that to happen, but I don't think she will. But so he called a symbol of racism. How is it racist? How is it racist? Every country in the world has some type of border security. Every country in the world. How is that racist? It's part of being a sovereign nation, is having well-defined, defensible borders. You can't be a sovereign nation without them. There's just no way. But what about, I would ask Jorge, what about Tijuana, man? What about it? Think about it. Tijuana, we did a story on this. The best way to follow all of our past shows, by the way, there's a couple ways. One, go directly to John Martin Talks Facebook page. If you hadn't done it so already, like it and share it with others. We're almost at the 10,000 followers mark. I hope we can crack that by over the weekend. So with your help, we can do it. Thank you very much. But you can see all of our shows there. You can go to johnmartintalks.tv and you can go to John Martin Talks YouTube channel. Those are ways to do it. But we covered a story about a couple of different ones. One, Tijuana has now become the murder capital of the world. Really. It really has. And I feel for the people in Tijuana. I've been there. I really feel for them. It just came out a couple of days ago that in this year, there has been over 500 murders in Tijuana alone. And that's just the ones they know about. And here's the other thing. We did a story, I think, a week or so ago. If he talked about walls are racist and walls don't work and everything else. Well, if that's true, then why are the citizens of Tijuana, I'm not talking about the illegals that have been caught up there, but the citizens of Tijuana have now been going to the border and stealing the razor wire. They're stealing the wire that you've seen our military putting up, and they're cutting it, and they're not cutting it so they can get through the wall. They're cutting it and taking it and putting it on their walls at their house, so that people can't get over their walls, making it tougher to get into their home for the home invaders to come in so they don't get murdered. So it's just crazy, man. So think about that. They're stealing if walls didn't work, if the razor wire didn't work, why are people in Tijuana stealing it and putting it? I don't blame them. I'd be taking it too. Better than getting murdered, right? And he goes on and says, for those who want to make America white again, talking about the wall. In other words, this idea that old white dudes like us, I guess he's angry. Maybe he needs to take that course at Kansas University we talked about yesterday that they're offering over the summer about angry white men and how we can get by, how we can get around them and all that. It's not for helping angry white men. It's for trying to understand and being able to protect yourself from a bunch of angry white men. It's ludicrous. But anyway, he says that those who want America white again. Who's running on that ticket, by the way? Who's running on the ticket going, I'm running to be president or dog catcher or whatever so that I can make America white again? Give me a break, man. That is delusional. Who the heck? Let's just assume, for the sake of Ramos's conversation, that there is a large group of people out there that want to make America white again. How exactly would we do that? Since from our very inception, we've been a multicultural color society. Now, I'm not saying racism hasn't existed, and I'm not saying that white folks haven't practiced racism against all people. I'm not saying that at all. Racism is real, it exists, but you can't legislate what's in a man's heart. You just can't do it no matter what. And I don't know if you'd want to, because then then you get into some kind of sci-fi stuff. But we have tried, and we've fought wars, and we've come a long way. Have we come far enough? Probably not. Have we got a ways to go? Probably so. But institutional racism has really been eliminated. It's illegal in every... Does that mean it still happens? Yeah. But, hey, as long as there's going to be the human condition, people are going to fall short of the glory. There's a book out there that says something about that. Maybe old Ramos should read it. But who thinks that America could ever be white again? First of all, there were Indians here. I don't think it was... think about how much progress we've made in Native Americans. We've gone from Native Americans being, people of color to now you can be a Native American and be the whitest woman in the world and run for president. I mean, look at Elizabeth Warren. She's got papers that says she's like one of the whitest women that has ever lived, but she's a Native American. At least in her account she is. So, I mean, we have come away, and let's face it, we had black folks coming over here helping to build this country. No, they weren't indentured servants like the governor of Virginia, who happens to be a Democrat, said. They were slaves, and they were treated harshly. So, I mean, throughout the very beginning, and we had a lot of Chinese folks over here from the very beginning, and Irish people also, but Irish people, they're not really white, are they? I mean, Irish people aren't white because Beto, he's Irish and he's Mexican. I don't know. I mean, so I'm really confused about all this stuff. But this idea that somehow there's this strong political movement to make America white again is delusional. I'm just telling you, it is. It is. But get back to the story here. He has also insisted, talking about Jorge Ramos, that Americans must accept that the U.S. border is nothing more than an invention. What the heck does that mean? What the heck does that mean that the U.S. border is nothing more than an invention? I mean, I understand that the border is what you say it is, but every country that's ever lived has a border. You know, I mean, it's just the way it is. So I know one thing. If true, if he's right, if true, then it's the end of America, this experiment we call America that I talk about at the beginning of every show. It is the end of, hey, it might be better. I'm willing to say that the country might be better if we had open borders and everybody just came in and everybody became one big, we got the United States of the world. Maybe we would be better. I don't know for sure. I suspect that that's delusional. But one thing I know for a fact is that we will no longer be the great experiment called the United States of America. We will no longer be a republic under the guidelines and laws of the U.S. Constitution. We will no longer have our God-given rights. We're going to do a story here in a minute that talks about that very thing. I don't know what will happen if we just go with Jose Ramos, if he's right and we just go with that. I don't know what we will become, but I know what we won't be, and that's for sure. And I'm not delusional about that at all. Hang on a minute. Let me readjust this. There we go. See, I get delusional about my own stuff here. All right. To talk about delusion, or what I would call delusions of grandeur, that is this next story coming to you from the Atlantic, which is basically another Trumper paper these days. Used to be better. Eric Swalwell is running for president on gun safety. You know who Eric Swalwell is? I don't know how well he swallows, but man, if you watch him, you have to swallow a lot of BS. This guy has been like a poster child for all things Russian for a while. It was like, Russia, Russia, Russia. And I've seen he was right there with Shifty Shift. There you see old Shifty Shift in the background. I still say he looks like one of them gay vampires on True Blood, but hey, that's another story. But old Swalwell, he's been all about Russia, but apparently he's a-changing, and he hasn't officially announced, but he's all but done that. He hasn't held the famous press conference, I'm here today to say I'm not running for president. We haven't heard many of them yet, have we? We heard, what is his name, Bloomberg say that, but now there's reports that, side note, that old Bloomberg is reconsidering, probably because he looks at how many nut jobs are actually running and say, you know, when it comes to a bag of nuts, I probably could win. There are more long-shot Democrats running for president this year than there have been in total candidates in previous campaigns. They're delusional, to say the least. And next week, Eric Swalwell is joining the pack. Wait on bated breath, right? The California congressman and frequent cable news guest on all things related to President Donald Trump and Russia will announce his presidential plans in an appearance on The Late Show with Stephen Colbert. He won't be running on Russia. So don't expect him to get on there and go, the Mueller report, I got it right here. But he won't be running on Russia or on the continuing fallout from the Mueller report and the Barr letter. Swalwell will center his campaign on gun control. On gun control. He's going to run his total campaign on gun control. He's going to be a one-issue person. Bloomberg kind of was that way. There's this guy, I can't think of his name, out of, what is it, Washington State, maybe Oregon. One of the, he's just climate change. That's all he's running on, climate change. So they want to be one issue. Helping him to do, so who's going to be helping this will be a person you may or a Floridian. Helping him to do that will be Cameron Kasky, a survivor of the February 2018 mass shooting at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida. So Parkland shooter survivor. I'm glad, I mean, that's a tragic thing. Who became prominent in the March for Our Lives student movement. Swalwell has written about being inspired by the youth movement in his call to ban all assault weapons. So he's running to ban all assault weapons, like the AR-15, right? I mean, surely one thing we can agree on is to ban AR-15s. I mean, after all, doesn't AR stand for assault rifle? Assault rifle 15, that's it. I don't know exactly what the 15 means, but surely AR. I mean, who could be opposed to that? Who could be opposed? I mean, you talk about there are no assault weapons, you know, but surely there are. I mean, here you got one named assault rifle 15. There's only one itty bitty problem with that. The AR in 15 stands for Armalite rifle. It has nothing to do with assault, man. I mean, these people just throw this garbage out there all the time. Some of you may know this, and some of you are so gun freakish you won't know anything about it. You go, oh, you know, I had a gun. But my dad had a 30-30 rifle. I mean, that was what he grew up with, you know, kind of the rifle that won the West, so to speak. He was an avid deer hunter and all that. And it was, you know, cock it, man, leave it, that kind of thing. And I can tell you, I used to hunt with a 30-06. I'm more into fishing these days. Hang on, Billy Bob, don't worry. I'm going this weekend, so I'm kind of excited. But there's really not much difference between the 30-30 rifle that my dad had and this AR-15 as far as the capability. I guarantee you that you could be killed very easily with a 30-30 rifle. The main difference is cosmetic. The Armalite is cosmetic. And I guess the biggest single difference is the magazine capacity. You know, you could put a bigger magazine capacity. But as far as it being an assault rifle or an assault weapon, it's no different than the weapons we've been living with for hundreds of years. It's lighter. Is it more efficient? Probably so. But I hate to tell you snowflakes this, because I remember Governor Cuomo, who said America never was all that great. Then why the hell is everybody coming here? In spite of the fact that your own story, sir, side note, tells just how great America is, that you rose to where you are, from where you're literally a family of immigrants, not too distant past, right? But you remember Cuomo a couple years ago, you don't need 7 shots to kill a deer. Well, let me tell you, Swalwell, or any of you want to swallow up all this nonsense, yeah, you don't need 7 shots to kill a deer if you're actually very good at it. But the Second Amendment, I hate to inform you this, but maybe it's my battling ignorance and apathy. The Second Amendment was never about squirrel hunting. It never was. It never was about deer hunting. It was about personal self-defense. Period. It never was about all this other stuff. So yeah, you may need more than 7 shots to kill some of these doped up, ignorant people that are trying to home invade people every day around here. I mean, give me a break. So yeah, I hate to tell you this, and some of you are going to freak out. The Second Amendment is about killing folks. Not about hunting bears and deers. It's about keeping you safe from the greatest enemy that has ever been, and that is other human beings. I mean, this idea that, you know, you're going to hunt squirrel. Ain't no squirrel been trying to attack my home except maybe in the basement. Call one of them pest control companies. But people have been trying to kill people from the beginning of time. Read that book. Something about one brother hit another one in the rock with a head. I don't know. But it's just this whole idea, I got sidetracked on, but this whole idea that there's assault weapons are everywhere and that, you know, you don't need them to kill a deer. You might not, but I bet that rapper out in L.A. wishes he'd have had an assault weapon because he came up and said, we're all about peace. Bam, he got to go. You know? Think about it. You ever seen that, George Carlin, where he talks about if you say that you're for peace and brotherly love, they gonna kill you. And he's right about that. I miss old Carlin. When I reached out to Swalwell, the writer of this article says on Wednesday evening, he wouldn't confirm the news, but he didn't leave much doubt that he intends to run for president. We're doing a town hall in Parkland, that's in Florida, and he told me, and I do believe that gun safety has to be the top 2020 issue. So, hey, he's going to come for your guns. You remember Obama said, and I'm pretty sure Hillary kind of echoed it, that no one's coming for your guns. Ain't no one doing it. Yeah, they are. Yes, they are. We've been talking about this. There's been bills passed. Colorado, we did a story a couple of days ago. Check out my podcast. Go directly to johnmartintalks.tv. You can also go to excluded YouTube channel. Drop the E, put the big X up there. Excluded Facebook site. See all of our family of shows. They are coming for your guns. Out in Colorado now, they just passed a law that basically, if I live out there and I don't like you, I can say, hey, that man got a gun, come take it, you know. And then I can hit you in the head with a rake, I guess. But anyway, don't believe for a minute. You're delusional if you don't think that the progressive left is coming for your guns, because they are. You better be clinging to your Bible and your guns, right? Like, they're clinging to the Bible and the gun. You know why? Because you're trying to take them. That's why. Swalwell, a fourth-term, good luck with that, by the way. Swalwell, a fourth-term congressman from Northern California who's been involved in politics. He won a city council seat as a college senior at the University of Maryland, is 38 years old. Translation, like a lot of the progressives, he ain't never had a job. He ain't never had a job. His only job has been to serve you, right? His job has been public service. I'm from the government and everything is going to be all right. Talk about delusional. He has been building up to run for months, with his staff stepping up outreach to donors in recent weeks. And think about that. Think about that statement. He has been building up. This man's a congressman. So his salary is paid by who? You and me, taxpayers. He's been building up to run for months, with his staff stepping up to outreach to donors in recent weeks. Who's been paying for that? Duh, you and me. We're paying for this dude to run for president, to raise money to run for president. But the gun control focus has developed quietly. Last week he invited Shannon Watts, I love this one, Shannon Watts, the founder of Moms Demand Gun Safety, to join him in an annual event with veterans at a shooting range. So he's inviting this chick that is anti-gun to come on out to the shooting range. Will she, you know? He tweeted a photo of himself firing at a target and one posing with Watts on the range. So he, like some people will say, here's my black friend. You know, he's like saying, here's my gun. I'm not coming for your gun. I know how to gun. Remember when, what was it, Mitt Romney was talking about? Mitt Romney, man, what a joke that dude is. I wish he was a joke, but he's serious. But remember when he was put on the camouflage stuff and was trying to hunt it? And I think he did that. I think, what's his name? Kerry did the same thing. But anyway, he made no mention of his political plans. Let me give you a radical idea. And I got this from a thing I went to the other day here in Alachua County. You know, if you're for gun safety, which I'm assuming he's talking about at these ranges, shooting ranges are all about gun safety. Let me tell you, sir, you ought to have a town hall meeting with Mr. Swalwell. I know you won't swallow this well, sir, but you should invite the NRA to this thing, because the NRA is by far the greatest authority on gun safety that has ever been, and they offer free classes. They will come in and teach people in school, in public schools, about gun safety. You know, in Alachua County, they won't even allow that. They won't allow, they talk about gun safety and all that. They will not allow a gun safety course to be taught anywhere on the premises. Now, when I was coming along, I took an NRA gun safety course decades ago, man, when I had no salt in old salty dog, man. And I took it at the high school. I'd already been shooting for years before that, but it was required for hunting license. But so, get the NRA. But I know you're not going to do that, because I'm delusional, sir. I'm delusional to think that the NRA should be allowed into the school to teach gun safety. What a delusional, radical idea that is. As of now, all the 2020 Democrats are in essentially the same place on gun control. I don't doubt that. They want to take them. Meanwhile, while they're riding on their jackasses for jackasses, if they're giving away the Green New Deal and they give away their planes and trains and just take the jackasses around, I bet there's some armed men following them, don't you? I bet there's some armed men and women, but they don't want to take those guns, no. But Swalwell believes there's an opportunity in making that, talking about the gun issue, his main issue. Gun issue, gun control. I got an idea. I just came up with this idea, man. And it'll solve, we were talking about Jorge Ramos and, you know, we can't stop him. He may be right. or Jorge, maybe, let's just say, Jorge, you're right. And let's say that, we need the gun safety. We need to do away with assault weapons here in America. I got a plan to not only solve the illegal immigration, whatever they're doing, and all these dadgum guns we got. We got more guns than we probably need, right? We got more guns than people now. So there's probably some of you out there, MAGA hat sons of guns, y'all probably got more guns than you need. I'm not, So I got a way that we could solve both these problems. How about when the migrants come up to illegally enter the country, we just pass out the pistols, the guns, and the ARs, whatever, give it to them and turn them back south. How about that? That way we get rid of a lot of guns we don't need in the United States. The illegal immigrants can go and fight hard for their freedom like our forefathers did, of all races, by the way. I'm just saying. Maybe that's crazy. Maybe it's delusional. Probably delusional. I need a nurse or something. I don't know. As Swalwell was discussing a run, many assumed he used his position on the House Intelligence Committee and the TV coverage it's brought to him to make his case. Well, we've been paying for that too. He's been all delusional, collusional Trump, anti-Trump from the beginning. So this writer said, I asked Swalwell whether he had moved away from the Trump campaign and Russia as a possible issue in his presidential run because Mueller had found no collusion. He pointed out, and we did this story yesterday, he pointed out to me the New York Times story that ran Wednesday saying some of Mueller's team say report was made more damaging than Barr revealed. So, it's worse than you think. But he made it clear that Mueller's report was not a factor in his campaign plans. You know why? Because he knows it's bullshit. He knows that the more it actually comes out at the Mueller report, the more we're going to realize that it was a witch hunt that, now they ought to go after the real witch, Hillary Clinton. But don't suicide me. I'm sorry, Don't pass out the pistol on me. But he says, I'm not running on Russia. And then he pulled it back. See, so he is running. But he said, if I were to run, he's not running on Twitter. Meanwhile, Swalwell posted a voicemail that he says he received at his office with a man angrily screaming about him and his position on guns and threatening to kill him. He said, I'm not afraid of this guy. Probably some old angry white dude. Hey, if you're out there, old angry white dude, go take that course at Kansas University. He said, I'm not afraid of the NRA. I'm not afraid. No fear. Well, I'm glad you're not, sir. No American should live in fear. But hey, I'm living in fear right now. I have to admit it. I am living in fear. Although I am surrounded by people who are practicing their Second Amendment, I don't fear them. You know what I fear? I fear that you might actually be able to win, or people like you obviously have won and are running the House of Representatives right now. What I fear is that our people will have the illusion or the delusion that you actually have the answer to any of our problems. All I would tell you out there, if you're thinking of supporting any of the yahoos that have formally announced or even thinking about announcing for 2020 Democratic primary and they're going to try to take out the Trumpster, all you got to do is look at the reality, not the delusion, but the reality of Venezuela, and you will see the future they are trying to bring to us. All right, check my time. Doing pretty good. Here's one that I call delusionally confident, and this is coming from ABC News. I watch and listen to a lot of these things as a public service, just like all these Democrats who have never had a job. I'm doing it for you, for the good of the country. So I watch them so you don't have to. I call it delusionally confident. Facebook's Mark Zuckerberg to George Stephanopoulos, confident about 2020 election. So he's confident that, and we'll see what he means by that, but he's confident that basically it won't be able to be hacked by the Russians. The Russians won't take over Facebook and Google and everything else. More about that in a moment. Just over a year after the Cambridge Analytica scandal, that's this group that apparently was conspiring to help the Russians, through Facebook at the center of a global controversy, Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg told George Stephanopoulos he was proud of the progress the company has made in combating the spread of misinformation and major privacy breaches. Translation, We have those MAGA sons of guns uncontained. We are containing them. We are deplatforming them. We are containing them with our brothers at Twitter and Google and everything else. So we just about, now I don't know if they, they may be able to control old white bread MAGA guys, but the ones that you ought to fear are them Nigerian princes and white-faced MAGA guys. I mean, those dudes, think about that. If they're willing to brave the coldest night on record in Chicago to hang somebody, then they are to be feared for sure. He defended the company's, talking about Zuckerberg, defended the company's actions after terror attacks, including the recent mosque attacks in New Zealand that were live streamed on Facebook. And they've been using that to take the guns, right? And stressed that the company needs to work harder than ever to amplify the good things that people do and to mitigate and remove as much as the negative as possible. I love that last sentence. To mitigate and remove as much of the negative as possible. That means, my friend, you angry white men that need to take a course at Kansas in how to combat it. That means you. It means all of you. What he's saying is that basically I think we got the old angry white men that otherwise known as Trump supporters corralled. But there's a surprise, Mr. Zuckerberg. Not everybody who supports Trump is an angry white dude. There's actually some happy people like me. I'm happy I'm going fishing. There's also, guess what? There's some Democrats that are supporting Trump. Did you see the rally that he had up in Michigan this past week? Apparently 30% of the crowd were Democrats. There's reports out that as many as 50% of Hispanics, oh my God, are thinking about voting for Donald Trump. And there are going to be some woke black folks that really take a look around and say, black unemployment, President Trump is the worst racist ever. And the reason I say that is because he sucks at it, right? Black unemployment is at an all-time low. Black home ownership at an all-time high. Black business ownership up 400%. Did you see where Sears is actually thinking about reopening stores? Oh my God. Things are getting better and better every day, and there might be some awakening if people get out there. They're not delusional. It's hard to be delusional about the economy when you actually got change you can spend, when you open up your wallet and you got some money in it that you worked for. Try it. It feels pretty good, man. But that's what Zuckerberg is basically saying. We got the old white dudes under control. Zuckerberg also expressed confidence about the 2020 U.S. presidential elections, thank God, and expanded upon his vision of privacy and regulations. Think about this now. He's talking about they got the election under control, the Russians and all that. Can Zuckerberg, I've heard they've been losing people. I'm worried about Mark. Can they really take the financial hit that is coming their way? As you may remember that it came out that the Russians spent like a total of $100,000 on Facebook ads to defeat Trump, I suppose, or help Trump, I guess. To help Trump. And we've been playing this video, but we're going to play it again because Google, apparently, the Russians played such a major role in the elections that as Mark Zuckerberg truly understand the financial hit he's going to take if the Russians pull out and he's successful and they don't interfere, influence, or collude with our elections? I think we got a video about that. Can we play that?
Now, according to media reports, Google found evidence that Russian agents spent thousands of dollars to purchase ads on its advertising platforms that span multiple Google products as part of the Russian agents' campaign to interfere in the election 2 years ago. Additionally, Juniper Downs, head of global policy for YouTube, testified in July that YouTube had identified and shut down multiple channels containing thousands of videos associated with the Russian misinformation campaign. Does Google now know the full extent to which its online platforms were exploited by Russian actors in the election 2 years ago?
We have, we undertook a very thorough investigation, and in 2016, we now know that there were two main ad accounts linked to Russia, which advertised on Google for about $4,700 in advertising. We also found other limited...
Total of $4,700?
That's right.
Man, does Zuckerberg real? I'm looking at the hit that Google's going to take. The Russians spent 4,700, and old Nadler, who is the guy that's trying to impeach Trump right now, he said, "Did you say 4,700? Think about that, ladies and gentlemen. $4,700, man. I wish I'd known you could buy the presidency for $4,700, but I'd have bid $5,000 myself if I had to walk door to door and get the collection." So I don't know if Zuckerberg realizes he's delusional, man, because I don't think his company could take anywhere near that hit, could they? And Google will be out of business if the Russians don't hack it. The fantasy world these progressive live in, man. I mean, they ought to have, like, they could have, like, progressive fantasy world. Maybe they'd come to Florida and build a theme park, because they are much more delusional than anything Harry Potter could put out. Trust me on that. But despite global outcry over the live stream mosque shootings in New Zealand, Zuckerberg still resists implementing time delays in the platform. And hey, I'm actually with him on this. I mean, I understand you don't want to put and give these crazies the platform, and they're going to be more duplicating it. I realize this. Oh, and by the way, I hadn't talked about this in a while. I've talked about it when it first happened. This whole New Zealand thing, look up the words black pill. Black pill. That's some of your homework assignments for the weekend. That's what we're facing. Basically what it means is there is a group of people, both on the left and the right, that think the system is so corrupt, so terrible, that the only way to straighten it out is to burn it down, to burn it to the ground. And that's what this dude was doing in New Zealand. He's part of that group. Of course, I guess he's dead now, but he's part of that group that is basically so despondent, and they want to throw gas on every fire. Their sole purpose is to get us so delusional that we don't realize that we need to come together on these issues. That's what they're doing. But anyway, freedom. Let me tell you about freedom. There's a difference between freedom and liberty. Okay, freedom is just freedom. I do whatever I want. No one can have a very successful life doing whatever they want all the time. Period. Liberty actually takes some personal responsibility. But liberty and freedom together, it's messy, man. It's messy. It's going to be messy. You're going to have to listen to some speech you don't want to hear. You're going to have to allow people to do some things you don't want them to do. All that kind of everything. It's messy. And I know a lot of you people don't believe that there was a history before like 1970, but there were a couple of people around before then, including yours truly. But let's just see what Thomas Jefferson, one of the founders of this great country, said about being ignorant and free. He said, if a nation expects to be both ignorant and free in a state of civilization, it expects what never was and never will be. So get your head out of your butt, get off your knees, off your couch, all those kind of things, and man the political ramparts before we have to do what he had to do and man the real ones. Because we can't be ignorant and free. There's no way. We can't have liberty and be ignorant. That's a delusion, man. That's why and I was joking about it, but seriously, the only way that these people are ever going to straighten out their countries is to fight for it like our people did. And we welcome you to this country if you come here to be part of the American dream, not some kind of American scheme. But Facebook has previously admitted that its artificial intelligence failed to flag the attack video, talking about that mosque shooting in New Zealand. Asked if a delay in live streaming would have limited the views of the attack, Zuckerberg said it might in this case, but he went on to say, and I agree with him 100% on this, he said it would fundamentally break what live streaming is for people. Most people are live streaming birthday parties and everything. Basically, he said we would be giving up our freedom in order to get it. And there's just another saying out there about those who ask, that are willing to give up freedom and liberty for security, deserve neither. I mean, you can't do it. You can't do it. But he's right. But here's the thing, man. This is this idea that we're going to protect ourselves from violence. Don't misunderstand me. I'm not advocating violence. I think people have the Second Amendment right to protect themselves from violence. But ladies and gentlemen, I know we're becoming a snowflake gerbil nation out here, and I'm trying to prevent that. Battling Ignorance and Apathy Daily. Go to my Facebook site, John Martin Talks. Like it, share it with others. Thank you very much. YouTube, all that stuff. But this idea that people are just now being exposed to violence. We've been living in a violent world since the very beginning. people have watched literally atrocities out their window. You know, so watch some of these movies and you'll see that World War II, there were some angry people over there. They were killing everybody. Anyway, we'll talk about that. We talked about that yesterday. Check out yesterday's show. But these video games that are out now, how much more violent could they be than these video games you see out there? So this idea that we can sanitize ourselves from violence, we actually need to see what's really happening. I mean, we need to show the videos of the people literally jumping off the Twin Towers. I'm not saying for all ages, but this idea that we need to be protected from seeing the harsh reality of life, that's going to make us weak, period. But the tech mogul also said and that's not a delusion, that is reality. The tech mogul also said he was confident about next year's presidential election. He said because there have been a number of major elections since 2016 where the results have been relatively clean on this front. We've learned a lot since 2016. So what he's really saying is, hey, some Democrats have won, so all's not lost. We've been monitoring the system. We helped some Democrats win because we know that Facebook and Google actually went out of their way to try to beat Donald Trump. But he goes on to give a warning. Let me check my time. He goes on to give a warning. Zuckerberg stopped short of guaranteeing the same kind of disinformation campaigns would not be disseminated across the company's platforms. In other words, Trump, in spite of all our best efforts, Trump might win again. And that is scary for them, right? But he said Zuckerberg also added that the company will spend more on safety and security in 2019 than the company's total revenue in 2012. So when the Facebook went public, they made $5.1 billion in revenue in 2012. And now they're saying they're prepared to spend more than that on security and making sure. So what he's basically saying, they're spending more than that. This is what we're up against. We're up against, think about that, $5.1 billion. So he's prepared to elect progressives at every turn. Every turn. And they got this safety council thing they're going to put together to monitor Facebook for hate speech and all that. There's going to be 40 people, they said, they're experts in speech and safety. That's a scary thought. But I'm wondering if there are going to be any MAGA hat wearing people in that. I kind of doubt it. I kind of doubt it. All right, we got a few minutes left. I want to cover something that is really delusional. And it surprised me. This story surprised me. It's coming to you from Business Insider. And my little subtitle is Delusional, or is Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez smarter than she sounds? Paul Ryan said Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez ignored his advice to just take it easy as a new member of Congress. This is according to Business Insider. Former Speaker of the House Paul Ryan offered some advice to freshman Congressman AOC when she arrived in Washington, but she wasn't interested in his guidance, Ryan said on Tuesday night. So let me ask you, who wants Ryan's advice? I mean, he has become Prince Swamp Rat. You know, Romney was the king, and now the Romney-Ryan ticket makes sense because you had King Rat, and he wanted Prince. Every king has to have a prince, right? So you had Prince Rat. I mean, my respect for AOC, which was pretty low, other than her walking her shoes off campaigning, as anybody who's campaigned, I've always respected that. But she's a lot smarter than she sounds because she didn't listen to Paul Ryan. I mean, because Paul Ryan is really a snake oil salesman. He said, I don't think she really listened to a thing I said. Just take it easy. Just watch things for a while. Translation, or at least my version of it, do nothing. Do nothing. Get it elected to Congress. Don't do anything. Because that old boogeyman, otherwise known as Donald J. Trump, he'll eventually be gone. You can outlast him because that's what Ryan was trying to do, right? I mean, Ryan, man, if you want to know why we still have Obamacare, why we don't have the wall already built, it's people like Paul Ryan. It's not Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. First of all, she wasn't there, but these people like that, they're leftists. They can't be reasoned with. They can't be dealt with. Ocasio-Cortez can only be defeated. But fools like us, who actually care about this country, have over the long run been elected people like Paul Ryan to office. And that's really our problem. It's not the Ocasio-Cortezes of the world that's our problem. It's the Mitt Romneys and the Paul Ryans that tell us that they're for us and then screw us in the back. They give us an illusion or delusion that they're actually patriots, and they're just rhinos, man. And so I actually respect the fact that she didn't listen to this dude. But he goes on to say, rather than take it easy, Ocasio-Cortez has become one of the most outspoken Democratic leaders in Washington, where she's challenged both Republicans and members of her own party. This gal has got some truck nuts. You like her, hate her, whatever. She's got more balls than Ryan ever had. And so, in one sense, I do give her some props. At least you know where she stands. I mean, I'd rather have someone I 100% disagree, than comes out and tells me so I know where I stand, than somebody like Paul Ryan to pat you on the back and then stab you. I mean, come on, man. Ryan, who retired from Congress, let me check my time. I got a few more minutes. Ryan, who retired from Congress this year after 2 decades in office, was like Ocasio-Cortez, first elected to Congress at 28. But Ocasio-Cortez has argued that the two were treated differently as the new lawmakers based on their gender. So she's saying that just because she had a set of balls, figuratively, and Ryan had a real one, that she was treated different. She might be right. She tweeted last December that Ryan was hailed as a genius when he was elected to the House in 1998, while she was labeled a fraud. Well, let me tell you the reality of that. They're both delusional. Both identities are delusional. Because Ryan has never, I mean, I guess he's a genius in the one sense that he's been able to parlay it all the way up to the top circles. And now, trust me, he's not going to stay in Janesville or whatever the name of town he's from in Wisconsin. He's going to be one of the highest paid lobbyists in the history of the country, I predict, because we haven't seen the last of Ryan by any stretch. But maybe he's a genius at convincing us to be delusional to the point that we had an illusion that he would actually be with us. That this guy somehow would actually put America first. Because he's put himself first. Ryan is Prince Swamp Rat to Romney's King Swamp Rat, and is everything that is wrong with the conservative movement right there. The fact that he is even considered a part of it. This is what I fear, and maybe I'm delusional with this. I'm hoping, with all hope, and I'm going to work as hard as I can to get the president reelected. But I'm hoping not only do we do that, but we have the stones, if you will, to clean house. We need the Democrats like Ocasio-Cortez. We know we need to get rid of them. Progressives can't be dealt with, only defeated. But what I worry about is we need to clean house. We need to get rid of the Paul Ryans, and there are quite a few still up there. We need to get rid of that dirty dozen that voted, for instance, including my own Senator Marco Rubio. We need to get rid of those people that won't stand with President Trump, that won't put America first, that go along with Jorge Ramos and basically ain't nothing we can do about it. We just accept it. Bend over. I don't agree with that. And the whole thing about what's her name? Ocasio-Cortez being a fraud. She's not a fraud. She's real. And that's what's good. Don't be under any delusion. Ocasio-Cortez is real. One thing you don't need to be delusional about, and I've said this, and I've said it many times, but if I say it, it bears repeating. The progressive left, they're not like Ryan. See, this is what the progressive left, especially since Trump became president and this Trump derangement syndrome, they will tell you exactly what they plan to do, exactly how they plan to do it, and when they plan to do it. Paul Ryan, man, these guys are just a snake in the grass. I applaud that Ocasio-Cortez did not take his advice. I would advise her never to take his advice. But Ocasio-Cortez, they tells you exactly what she wants to do. How much more honest can she be than tell you the Green New Deal? But you're talking about delusion. Ryan deluded us into thinking that he was actually on our side. Well, I hope you've enjoyed the show today as much as I've enjoyed bringing it to you. Have yourself a great weekend. Like and share ourselves. We got more people coming on all the time of all walks of life. I'm greatly appreciated it. I can tell you that we've got some grand plans behind the scenes working that you will see unveiled over the coming months. So stay tuned. Have a great weekend. I'm going fishing, but above all else, have a blessed day.